Hi, everyone. We'll wait a few more minutes till everybody joins, and then we'll begin. All right. I think we're about a minute and a half in. And for those of you who joined on time, thank you. We will start in about 30 to 60 seconds. All right. So welcome, everyone. My name is Sagy Kratu. And I wanted to throw a specific stat about this current session. Did you know that 79% of organizations had a security incident in the past 12 months involving a vulnerability that was already known and tracked? This is one of the biggest items that came out from our 2026 State of Vulnerability Management for this year. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about, kind of the findings and the raw data behind the report. And of course, at any time, you're more than welcome to ask questions and run through the webinar with us. So according to this stat, right now, roughly 8 out of 10 of the people who are right now in the webinar have had a vulnerability that you already know about. It was ticketed, it's tracked, and the data says it's probably getting exploited anyway. That's what we're unpacking today. The one-line intros that I'd like to hear Roy and Adam to introduce themselves.
Go ahead, Adam.
All right, I feel like a guest, so I'll jump in there. I didn't want to jump in too early. So my name is Adam Myers, and I'm the sales director at a company called CyberLab, and we've worked with Vicarius now for a good 2 to 3 years, working very closely with the team, Justine, Al, Motti especially. So a big shout out to them if they're listening. But yeah, looking forward to chatting to everyone and getting to know you all, and hopefully a really interesting webinar and session.
Thanks, Adam. Great to have you here. And I'm Cohen, CEO and co-founder. In the past, I've been on the other side, the guy who was scanning and patching. So it was great insights from Sagy and the team for the research, and excited to kind of unravel those stats.
Amazing. So since Roy said that the passive was the scanner and the patcher, we spent a decade buying visibility, scanners, attack surface tools, continuous monitoring. Why hasn't remediation caught up yet?
It's a good question. I think, again, we got very good, machines got very good in finding those problems, automating the procedure end-to-end, scanning, in a lightning speed. But the fix is still very much human. It's very much human-led. And let's try to think about it. You need to, once you get these lists, for those of you who had the chance to scan, okay? So those lists of vulnerabilities and issues can span anywhere between thousands to tens or hundreds of thousands of items, okay? Now, once you got that list, which of them you take care first and why? You need to make like a case. So which of them needs to be addressed? Then, of course, let's assume that you made the right decision or the right bet, depends how you look at it. Do you need to get approval, right? You need to get, change management. You need to have maybe downtime. Some patches require you to do some restarts. You need to deploy. Sometimes deployments fail also. It's something you need to be aware of. And eventually the verification. It's not all about just deploying those, those patches or those fixes, also making sure that they are actually, actually resolved. So again, when we automated the detection piece, the remediation is very much human-led, human-powered.
So according to the report, 58% of remediation activities, as you say, require direct human intervention. Walk me through kind of what it looks like, in your opinion, on a late afternoon on a Tuesday for a security team member. What does it look like?
Yeah, so that's again, I'm feeling it like closely to my heart. Let's walk through the painful, I would say, process of a single vulnerability. And then think about multiply that by, I don't know, thousands, millions. So once a scanner, whatever scanner it is, picks up a vulnerability, I think today we got to a point where we automate kind of the ticket, or opening something in the SOC, depends on how your company really works. So the scan concludes. Again, we can discuss that sometimes the scan is also missing some findings because of some technical issues, but let's say the scan completed successfully. Then someone from SOC gets the report, maybe export that CSV or uploads that somewhere, opening a ticket over your IT operations. Then there is an internal process with IT deciding whether they should address it, what's the right fix, discussing that, building a plan. Then let's assume, like in my past, patching Windows were once a month. Okay, so let's say we had vulnerabilities we found a day after. We need to sit down and wait at least 30 days until we get approval to get that patch deployed. So wait down until your maintenance window is approved, and then you go and deploy the patch. Assuming it is successful, then you need to go and to check again whether that fix was actually applicable. So we talk about such a long and manual process from the moment okay, so you have a problem, until the very fact you actually are resolved. So that gap is very much manual, as this report clearly shows.
And yet 62% of organizations asked say that their program or rate their program as mature, right? So if they're stating they're mature, why does this happen to them? Like, they have to do it manually, right? So they're considering this a mature and they're well-funded security programs, and they still do stuff manually. Why does that happen?
It's funny definition of that mature, kind of the definition of what is mature. So what we saw and kind of what we know is that mature vulnerability programs, and we see across the board, I think we got to a point where the tracking and the reporting, so at least the know-how of, okay, do I have a problem? Am I affected? This is something that directors are kind of calling their programs as mature. But this only talks about the reporting piece. The actual fixing is not, is really not something that they claim to be mature. So mature reporting and tracking isn't really the same as mature fixing. I think the people who are like closer to the board or the VPs, they see the reality, what we know as the mean time to remediate. So something that we need to kind of highlight here with the audience. So these days we have like two parameters which are very much highlighted: MTTD, standing for mean time to detect, and MTTR, which is mean time to remediate. Those two parameters are crucial and will become more crucial given the kind of the aftermath of Fable, Mythos, and all of these new models. So as the attack, is progressing in machine speed, so basically it means that hackers are faster and more efficient in finding and exploiting vulnerabilities. Organization needs to reduce the MTTD, the mean time to detect, to virtually immediate, but also most importantly, they must reduce the mean time to remediate to virtually, immediate. Let's put it that way. So again, I think there is the unfair advantage of the hackers on developing those exploits and exploiting them faster than defenders can defend. So going back to the maturity of the program, again, organizations I think got to a good or decent maturity in finding problems, but again, in regarding to the execution, the maturity as we see it is not quite there, and because of the complexity and the heavy lifting required to actually do that shift, do that change.
I understand. Another part of the report states that 79% had an incident from a known vulnerability. And it goes even deeper and states that over 50% of those had this known vulnerability for between 30 and 90 days. What is the actual cost of a vulnerability sitting open for 30 to 90 days, Roy?
So before the cost, let's just try to kind of discuss those numbers. So first of all, we need to realize, look, this is not a 0-day problem. Okay, it's a 1-day problem. So as you know, the report showed, and then the survey shows that most of the vulnerabilities were 1 day, were known. Okay, so it's not something which is kind of coming from the darkness. It's more of it's a remediation problem. Okay, we can say it's a remediation problem wearing a detection costume. In the end of the day, we know, when a breach happens and the board asks the SOC, like, why didn't you know? Why didn't you see it? But the SOC did see it, okay, on the first day. The failure happens on, after 45 days that it's set in the backlog and waiting for a human to approve the fix or even test it, okay? So this kind of 1-day, 0-day notion is really, something in theory. The real pain is that those non-vulnerabilities, or at least almost 80% of them, not addressed on a timely manner. And it really goes back to the point where machine is very fast in detecting problems, but not that fast, because it's human powered, we're not that fast on fixing stuff. So to your question about the cost, look, in the end of the day, as organizations will need to improve their ability to react, we will need, as we'll call it society, but vendors and professionals need to figure out new and innovative ways to close that remediation cycle. I think we are nearing a future where agentic remediation isn't it's not science fiction. It's something that we'll see coming up, if not already. We have a few customers and organizations we work with which are almost virtually already there. But we will see more and more demand for agentic remediation. And this should, in return, also reduce the likelihood of organizations to be exploited, to be taken down. And I think also something it kind of talks about additional items we found in our data that kind of explains why.
I see. And now I'd like to take it into less of the, let's say, the report and the theory of it, and kind of where the rubber meets the road. And this is why we have Adam here. Adam, imagine this. You walk into a client's environment before VRX even goes in, right?
Yeah.
What does the handoff problem Roy described in the last few minutes actually look like in the day-to-day?
So I think I was reading through your report, and it said that I think the stat was 82% can't remediate without a handoff, and I think 38% of ownership is unclear or situational. So that's some substantial stats. And I think maybe I can paint a picture a little bit. So we've all seen a ticket bouncing around between IT and security departments. Nobody is sure of whose job it is. It's difficult for teams to take ownership, and that's the reality of things when you're on the day-to-day. Urgency slows down the longer it sits, and that's, I think, the part that clients don't see coming. I think before and after of implementing a solution such as Vicarius, I see that, and I see the impact it has on a business and the functionality that they gain from this. So it's definitely something I see day to day, and a massive improvement when we get it right.
And so when you go to that customer and you see how they behave, or the issues and challenges they might have, what's the most common thing you find that a client didn't know was still exposed, even though someone on their team had already flagged it?
Yeah, and I think, again, stats, I think just picking some of these out, I was reading through it, it's giving me a lot of insight as well, the report. So it's brilliant for me as a sort of cybersecurity professional to read through and articulate the narrative. But I think it's 79% had an incident from a known vulnerability. Yeah, and then had known about that for longer than 30 to 90 days. So what that suggests to me is that the vulnerability open the longest is usually the one that nobody wants to own, is the practicality of it. It's difficult. We know we need to do something about it. But we've had clients who have legacy unpatched systems. They know they need to do something about it. But we've had a client where, they had little resource and time within the team to resolve and fix those issues. So it sits there. Clients know they need to act. but I think ownership becomes a challenge, and that time to remediate, as Roy said, becomes problematic. And that's what I see, again, on a day-to-day basis with our client base.
I see. And once implementation happens, what do you see after the first 90 days? Kind of what's the client's own sense of it?
This is a big, I think, before and after moment. So before, you've got kind of things are spread across multiple tools. It's very unclear on ownership. It's stuck in that approval sort of stage. And it feels very clunky and heavy. Once we've deployed and we've got the solution in, it's one team. I think there's clear authority is what I see, faster resolve closures. The security team, I do my job because I try and help customers. Yeah, that's what I get a lot of fulfillment and passion from. And I see security teams see this huge impact, and it's that speed of remediation, and they actually see, they see things getting fixed and resolved. And that mean time to remediation massively improves. So you just see this big impact within a business of a sort of before and an after stage. And I think that's really clear and evident with the deployment of the technology.
Interesting. So essentially, Roy spoke earlier about the maturity. What is maturity? And I'd like to ask you something along those lines, kind of what do clients get wrong about their own remediation maturity before you start working with them?
I think most clients think they're further along the journey than they actually are, and there's quite glaring gaps that can be quickly fixed. So there's a lot of quick wins, which often are quite low cost to implement, and they have the biggest impact. So I think getting that baseline of where you're at from a security posture is important, and understanding your own maturity. And maybe, webinars like today where we're openly talking around challenges, and we probably all feel that. And it's about that sort of culture of working together and working with vendors and partners to sort of understand how we can help. But I think that adoption of Vicarius, especially working with you guys for the last 2 or 3 years, the change is sort of like night and day. It's a big impact. Yeah, we understand the maturity, where they're at, and it's definitely one of those quick wins that we can get to improve the security posture very, very quickly. I do actually have a bit of a story as well that I can talk about with one of our clients that's been through this as an automized example.
Go for it, yeah.
Talk about that. So I think it kind of paints a picture and brings to life a little bit of what they experience. So we have a very large manufacturing company based in Japan who we've worked with for a number of years. They have quite a small IT team. They outsource various elements, and we demonstrated Vicarius, and instantly they saw value. What I take from this is we drove 4 outcomes, and it was sort of really evident in the aftermath when we sort of went back and asked them how they'd find the project. So the 4 outcomes that we driven were sort of identifying security vulnerabilities in real time. It was massive for them. Patchless protection is amazing. I think every one of our clients loves it, but that was obviously identified the vulnerabilities that they had, but the legacy applications and what we could do there, they felt like they were taking action, and again gave them real sense of feeling more secure, and it was like a second set of eyes, and the day-to-day operations just became much easier for them. Automated remediation as well, it freed up the IT department's time and ensuring that patches were applied correctly. So again, for them, it's just this peace of mind and that second set of eyes. It just had such a huge impact on the IT teams day to day, and they saw real value at post deployment.
Amazing. We talked earlier about kind of the definitions. What is mature? And Adam and Roy kind of gave their opinion on exactly that. I want to talk about what is remediation. Okay, because the report goes in depth in trying to understand what does remediation mean to each organization that answered that survey. For example, we need to find like a strict definition that we all agree on, right? So, for example, 65 or almost 66% have loose definitions, right? It could be opening a ticket, patch but don't verify, risk accepted as the kind of a GRC type of thing. So that together, in terms of like all these loose definitions, they amount to about 89 to 93%. And the idea here is crazy, because when we talk about the same words and they mean different things, it means that we're not speaking the same language.
Yeah.
Roy, walk us through, what does this data actually mean to you as a CEO of Vicarius? And what does it mean in terms of the opportunity of educating the market, in a sense?
So just again, a note on that numbers. Look, it's when you think about it, that almost like 25-30% difference between in reduction of the incidents just by doing that one extra step, which is just verify that your actions actually bear the desired outcome. So I think that the fact we are kind of missing the done, what is done, what is actually fixed, what is resolved. This is crucial. We see more and more the fact you open the ticket on the less mature companies, or the fact you deploy the patch on even the more mature companies. Those two alone still don't deem your issue, your problem as done, as resolved. It's guilty unless proved otherwise. So the point is, first of all, we need to, as you said, be very strict and cautious and aware of the definitions. Okay, what is done, what is resolved, what is addressed, and then of course, kind of take care of that. Look, let's be realistic. A closed Jira ticket never stopped ransomware, right? The fact I tagged the ticket as closed doesn't mean now I'm safe, right? If your security metric is based on how many tickets your IT closed this week, rather than how many assets were actually verified as patch, again, tested, you're kind of creating a false sense of security, and that's something kind of a key takeaway for me, for the report, and also for the audience.
Amazing. I'll also like for the audience to run a quick poll. So the poll will be live in a few seconds. If you can answer it in the comments, that'll be great, and we'll see what you think about what is remediation. So share your thoughts with us. Next, the interesting thing about one of the interesting things about the report is that we saw that only 7% of organizations who answered are fully automated, from the detection piece to the remediation piece. And I wonder, and I think at least, that a lot of organizations would like to kind of imitate and try to understand, because these specific organizations also experience a lot less exploits based on known vulnerabilities, that it's almost dropped to nothing. So Roy, walk us through kind of what did the organizations that remediation did it completely automated actually have in common?
Yeah, so from what we saw, when the numbers showed, again, 20 of those 30 surveyed organizations that are fully automated. Yeah, the 300, sorry, all the are fully automated. So first of all, it's not like they have a bigger budget and more tools. Every one of them ran through the discovery, remediation, verification in one single platform. I think this is a key takeaway. This handover, moving tickets to the right and to the left, sending emails, asking, calling, faxing, depends on the company. So the fact you are splitting your responsibility is also reducing your ability to kind of course, fully automate. So those organizations did reduce the handoff and the process by focusing on a singular platform, one system, one team, one authority, to basically one honest definition of done. They know what they're doing, and they have this singular pane of glass to address that. And something surprising we saw, again, that same group reported 0 incidents from non-vulnerabilities in the past 12 months. That was kind of, a key insight we saw in the report.
Aha moment, as we say.
Exactly. Eventually it was a survey that we kind of went there with the questions and some assumptions, but the fact that those 7% of organizations, those 20 companies that went through the full automation end to end, and like we say, the full definition to its full scope of automation of remediation, had 0 incidents in the last 12 months. I think this is brilliant. This is something that what we are trying to pitch and educate the market, and it's clearly the numbers support that.
Absolutely. And just as a final note, what would be the one thing you'd want someone watching this to go check in their own environment tomorrow?
So what I would suggest is, don't ask your team how many vulnerabilities you have. Okay, well, again, on its own, it's great, but what you should do personally, just take one, 5, whatever your schedule allows. Take those vulnerabilities, track them from the moment they were discovered, alerted, open the ticket, addressed, potentially verified, all that. Just walk through the process, do like a sample size, and see the proof. Ask the team, show me a proof that that machine is actually patched and resolved. So I think that kind of tests you can do internally. I think this could be worthwhile. Just test it for yourself. Check, kind of the process as your companies are addressing vulnerability. Just check it out and see if it actually, meets your standards.
Amazing. Thank you, Roy. We're now opening the floor for questions. I see we already have some, so I'll start running through them. And of course, guys, if you have any more questions, put them in the chat or the comments, and we will handle them. First question here goes to Adam. How do we get started if our team doesn't have the authority to remediate across other departments?
Good question. I think we like to try and establish ownership during the onboarding phase, so aligning key stakeholders. I think we've talked about it with Roy a little bit in terms of that, of getting started and creating automations, and people know their roles and responsibilities. I think getting a benchmark of your security posture from where you're at is important, so that you understand the risks that this can pose and understanding the impact it could have on a business. And that quickly then can escalate authority across departments so that people take ownership. You might want to align yourself to a framework. I think that's important. We work very closely with Cyber Essentials, and we see a lot of organizations going down the Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus route. And that quickly leads into a conversation with Vicarius around sort of automated patch management and how we can help. And I think with the team, I would say getting people to come in like Vicarius, like CyberLab, to come in and help you and build a structure and a plan of where you are and where you want to be. The culture of cyber within a business is difficult, isn't it? To sort of who has authority, who doesn't. And sometimes us coming in can help just build that and make that a little bit of a simpler operation. So it's not just your responsibility. We can help support with that message internally as well.
Amazing. And I see another question coming in. Is this data specific to any particular industry? Now, since it's a logistical question, I'll answer it. So this report was aiming to get information from the financial services industry, manufacturing, healthcare, government, automotive, and IT services. So all of these responded to this survey. And kind of talking about how do you get, and I'll ask Adam this, how do you get started with Vicarius? What is the best way?
I still think you need to have an understanding of where the challenge lies, and then the minute that you do that, I would say that the team is very, very slick in taking you from sort of A to B. I think the process is very easy to go through that and understand and see where you are at. I think industries are all different, and there's different compliance, and there's regulations, and it's not sort of. I think we take it as what's important to you, and I think understanding the challenges you have within a business, identifying that, and then often we'll find that there is a very, very quick win. The before and after, I see it, and I think it's one of the most things. We're working with Vicarius and the team. I see the moment that the customer goes, "Wow!" The impact this has had on our day-to-day and how it's streamlined efficiencies, productivity. Second set of eyes on systems and tools. Suddenly, they can go away and do what they need to do, knowing that there's a safe pair of hands, sort of making sure everything is safe. And I think that's, reach out to us. We're a friendly bunch, and we'll definitely help you along the way.
Sounds good. And last question I see that came up. We have two departments that are handling cybersecurity in a sense. One is patching, one is security, one is detecting, and another department, the IT department, is responsible for patching. The problem is, like we said earlier, that the detection mechanism, the system is shooting detections all over the place. Patching only is being done in a, let's say, like a maintenance window, okay? That causes a lot of friction between those two departments. Roy, how can we bridge this? Leave aside for a second the gap between detection and remediation. It sounds like there's either a process or inherent friction between those two departments, that one is leveraged or pushed by, let's say, criticality of the detection, And one is, it doesn't matter. It's only about the maintenance window or when can we patch, and then we'll choose the most important ones. What can we do to help there?
Well, first I would take just a step back. Look, hackers in the end of the day don't care that your friend from security just spilled the coffee last week, right? They don't care. In the end of the day, you have a breach, you have a vulnerability that needs to be addressed. How we can be more efficient? From what we see, I think, and again, I've been on the operation side. I've been the guy who was patching, and I've been the guy which was getting those endless tickets and trying to fix them as fast as I can. I think onboarding and having this shared and open discussion around the table is important. It's one team, one goal, one team. And I think something that we also as a vendor in the space trying to do we work and think very hard on how we can get that kind of internal enablement to companies is the storytelling. Like, I think the days of CVE in 1, 2, 3 with CVSS 9 are past, given the sheer amount of vulnerabilities. Having one more very bold red ticket with a score of 10 is not longer really a call to action. I think the ability to tell a wider story of, okay, yes, it's critical. Is it critical for me? Why? And something that human can grasp and understand and act upon, I think this is crucial. So first of all, that joint sense of ownership is important. It's not, hey, security wants everything fixed, IT wants everything to be green and working, right? I think it's the security is a joint responsibility. And also transparency. I think this is crucial. I think having everything under whether again with Vicarius or not, but one dashboard to govern everything, and everyone are kind of sitting around the table and seeing what security sees what IT sees, and vice versa. I think this is crucial for this reduction of the time to remediate. And again, but it goes back to the previous point that it's a joint ownership, joint responsibility, and we again as a vendor in the space and our partners at CyberLab, are committed to try to help and reduce the that time of remediation, whether by doing patching or alternative mitigations. I think in the market, generally speaking, we are at a point where patching alone isn't enough. I think when almost throughout this session, when we talk about remediation, I think 99% of the people are instantly thinking of patch management. And all I'm saying is even patching isn't enough, okay? Gartner said that this year alone, more than 50% of the vulnerabilities discovered by the time of the discovery will not have a patch available, okay? Think about it. One out of, every other patch you're looking at doesn't have a patch. One in every 2 vulnerabilities doesn't have a patch. So what do you do? So going back to this kind of roundtable of responsibility, and us vendor and partners such as CyberLab, the idea is to give you the most robust and complete set of options, which could be a patch, could be a script, could be a workaround, could be a configuration change. The idea, and I think moving forward, is optionality. And I think this is a step to a machine versus machine future. I think in the future, we will see more and more machines taking ownership for the remediation process, of course, governed, managed by human beings in the end of the day. But I think it's going to be a joint battle to address vulnerabilities and exposure.
Amazing. So with this, we have completed our webinar. And just for the audience, everything we walked through today is in the report. The links, QR code, will be on the screen in a few seconds. That's the easiest first step, just to learn and see exactly what's going on and see how relevant it is to your organization. And if what Adam described sounds like your environment, the link will provide you with his email contact, so you can contact him. The link is right there in the comments or the chat, and you can get on his calendar and have a discussion and see how you guys can help each other. And with that being said, I'd like to thank Ro'i. Thank you very much for your time. Adam, amazing work. Thank you very much for your time and joining us today. Your insights were really important for us and our audience. And thank you to our audience who joined us today. And hopefully we're exposed to items and data that they didn't know before. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Kyle, I'm still here if there are any more questions. So you're more than welcome to ask, write.
Happy hours coming past. The interns can never last. Wake me up when Patch Tuesday ends. Reading CVSS metrics. How'd I lose my hair so fast? Wake me up when Patch Tuesday ends. CISA's alerts come again, spamming my inbox, calling recruiters again. A bridge isn't too far. As my RAM rests, but never forget what I lost. Wake me up when Patch Tuesday